Tell me what the hell are you scared of when in the end the only thing
Where's the love?
saying
Right here on
love's
this
in the
podcast.
way.
Welcome to
Welcome
Love
to
Drops,
Love Drops,
where your
tell us
hosts
the things
and
that
One
you
Love
couldn't
ambassadors,
never
Charles
refuse
and
to
Diane,
always
will
together
share love,
promise you an empty
hope,
world
and
that tastes the
inspirational
sweetest. So
topics
it's like
taken from
one of
their
these
journey
days I
and
wanna show
world
I
events.
was a child
We
just
will
like
also include
you.
on location recordings and special pop up guests from cool places all around the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never fails.
Welcome to another episode of Love Drops Podcast. And we are here today with a good friend that I met on LinkedIn, but then met in real life. And she is a homegirl. She's from Michigan, like us. So, without further ado, Charles, bring our guest to the stage.
Yes, we have a very, very special guest that she will share a lot with you today. So if you want to go get your pencil and paper, grab it because our special guest today, her name is Tomika. And with that said, she knows more about it than I do. So, Tomika, I will give you the mic.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you both for having me. I'm so excited about joining you this morning. My name is Tomika Snodgrass, and I am from Michigan, okay, born and raised in Detroit. And I am a life coach, and I work predominantly with women, business leaders, and entrepreneurs, and just helping them to overcome their doubts and fears, build their confidence so they can live boldly and thrive in their personal and professional lives. And so that's one of my favorite things to do is just uplift, encourage, support, share lots of love and kindness with everyone, but especially other women, and especially other women who look like me, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Tamika, tell our audience a little bit about, your journey, where you yield from, and your professional history a little bit,
Mm.
personal history a little bit, because our listeners, we want to know. Our listeners, they want to know all about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me start on the personal side. So, I am a wife, a mom, a new grandma. So, my husband and I, we have been married this November. It'll be 29 years, right? And so we met, he was actually a blind date, y'all.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
wow.
He was a blind date, and he told me on our first date that I was going to be his wife. And he was right. I am. So we have two adult children. We have a daughter, and we also have a son and a new granddaughter. And then on the professional side, I worked for over 30 years in the banking industry. Most of that time was spent in the corporate banking industry. And I worked predominantly in a male dominated industry where, if you think about 30 years ago in banking, you didn't see a whole lot of people on the corporate side that looked anything like me. It was mostly men. And so I was one of a few women, and certainly one of a few Black women, especially at the officer level on the corporate side of the bank. So that's pretty much my professional background. I decided a few years ago to walk away from my corporate banking career to help take care of my parents who were up in age and having some health issues. And so I had an opportunity to take care of my mom before she passed away, and then also to take care of my father during his last 6 months of life. And I'm so grateful that I had an opportunity to do that. While I was doing that, I also decided to officially start my business as a life coach and a mentor to other women. Because what I realized is I was doing it all along. I had been mentoring and coaching other women over the years, probably for over 20 years, but I didn't have my own business doing it. And I decided, well, this is a great time to start my own business and make it official. And so that's how I got into coaching. And the reason I'm so passionate about working with women is because of the experiences that I had, both good and bad, because they're all valuable, right? And I just want to help make the path, the journey a little easier for other ambitious women to understand. You may go through challenges, but those challenges are opportunities. They're opportunities to learn and to grow and to stretch and expand. And you can do anything that you want to do with a little work and a little effort.
Wow, that is rich and full and full. I wanted to circle back so that we could get on our topic, and that was such a great segue and pivot into the topic, which is the gift of giving, right? The gift of giving. And so there was a lot of giving in that introduction that you just did. First of all, to yourself, secondly, to your parents, and then thirdly, to your worth. So that comes back to yourself again. I want to focus on just your parents for a minute, because when we think about giving, a lot of times people think about money. A lot of times people think about material things.
Mhm.
And even though those are great resources, but the most valuable resource that you have to give is your time. And
Yes.
so you gave that gift of time to your parents. And because you had the courage to step away from the corporate world, it allowed you that time to give to your mom and dad. And this season of life is rich because you were able to just be able to take care of the ones that took care of you when you were young. So talk
That's
about
right.
gift of giving. And Charles.
Yes, and you wrap that entire gift up with love.
Yes.
Love.
Yes.
There's no
Absolutely.
price you can put on it, but you gave.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. And it was an honor to do it. It wasn't
Yes.
something that I felt any negative feelings about. It was an honor to do it. Those are the people that brought me into the world. And I had great parents. I had a great childhood, a great upbringing. And I felt like that's something that I could give to them. And I wanted them to leave this world knowing that they were valued, they were appreciated, and they were loved.
Yes, yes. And then it's also a gift that you're giving to your children,
Yes.
because your children were able to see you loving on your parents, you taking the time, because Tamika, you were successful. And as we, get in the conversation and as people visit your website, after this episode, they will see that you climbed that ladder and you
Mhm.
shattered lots of ceilings. You left a lot of glass behind you, young lady, because you just kept going up and up and up. And I say that only to say, when it came time for priorities, when it came time to choose your gifts and how you would give your gifts, you decided to choose you. You
Yes.
decided to choose control over your time. You decided to walk away where I'm sure lots of people thought you were crazy and nuts for doing it, because it's like, are you kidding? You walked away from the American dream to give to the Tomika dream. And in doing that, you have changed the narrative and you have given your children the gift of knowing their
Mhm.
worth because they see you in your worth.
Yes. When we look at the time that we give, all of us have 1,440 minutes a day. How do
Mhm.
we divide that? How do we give? How do we give? And you made that choice. You came from the corporate structure to the Tomika structure,
Right.
and you did it, and you're continuing to do it. And
Thank
we're
you.
very
Yes.
proud that you're doing that.
Yes, we
Thank you
are.
so much.
Yes, we are. So circling back a little bit and giving to Tamika and giving that gift of choosing to launch your own business.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you faced in that transition? What are some of the things that you faced on that ledge right before you took that leap?
Well, I think you both already said it. You said people thought I was crazy, and you're right. People thought I was absolutely nuts, and I'm one of those people. Like, I questioned myself, seriously, are you really going to do this? But at the end of the day, what I discovered is money is not the most important thing, right? When we leave this place, we're not taking any of those possessions, including those financial resources. We're not taking any of that with us. So there was a time in my life when, of course, I was grinding every day. I worked two jobs, to help provide for my family and make sure that my kids could have a college education and make sure they could have a car when they turned a certain age and help them with a deposit on a house and all of the things I wanted to be able to do for them what my parents did for me. But at the end of the day, when it came down to making that decision and starting my business and also taking care of them, my mindset shifted from that of making money to doing the things that bring me greater joy and happiness in my life. And
Mhm.
that's giving to others. It's empowering others. It's helping others. It's also financial freedom. I did that early, the investing and the saving and making sure that I had the resources and the financial means to live life in my way.
Yeah.
And so it's not about the money. It's about waking up every day with a smile on my face, loving what I do, spending time with the people that I love while I can, because we don't have as much time as we think, right? And the one
Right.
thing
That's
about
right.
time, we can't buy more of it. We can't stop it. We
No.
can't we can't do anything about it. Time will end and we will leave this place. And I want to make sure that I have experienced as much joy, as much happiness, and given that joy and happiness to others while I'm here.
Mm-hmm. And peace is what kept resonating all while you were talking.
Mhm.
Just the word peace kept
Yes,
resonating because you can have all the money in the world and not have peace.
yes.
And you can't buy peace either. So it's like, what is it that gives you peace? If you get the
Mhm.
peace, then you get the clarity. You get
Right.
the clarity, then you see where you're going, even
Mhm.
if is somewhere uncomfortable, even if it's somewhere that you maybe don't want to go, but you can clearly see where you're going. And when you're clearly ready
Mhm.
to take your leap, right, then you
Right.
can leap into that new season. So you're at the edge, you're clear, you have your peace, and you're going to leap into something new.
Mhm.
What was it that was the driving force behind you leaping into coaching other women? What was that driving force behind that?
The driving force is what we're talking about today. It was being able to give. It was just being able to give. I looked at what is it that I have inside of me that I can give to help other people. And really sitting down and giving some thought to that. What have I done all these years that I can give to other women to make their path a little bit easier? And so that was the driving force. The purpose is to elevate, to encourage, to support, to motivate other women who might have doubts and fears about what they're capable of doing. And there's so much of that out there, so many who lack the confidence to jump into something new. But we all start new things from a place of not knowing. Diane, you and
Mhm.
I have had that conversation,
Oh, yeah.
what it feels like to start a new thing. And what I tell myself is, I don't know everything yet. I
Right.
don't know how to do everything yet, but I'm fully capable and well equipped. I'm able to learn, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so that's where my confidence comes from. It comes from doing, you
Yes.
know. So in starting my own business, I didn't know it all. I had my struggles just like anybody else, but I know that I'm capable of learning. I know that I have the resources and the means to find out what I don't know and to
Mm-hmm.
go from there. And that's something that I teach and coach with my clients as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's so good that you say that about that knowing about that openness to learn
Mhm.
because people gravitate to your true authenticity. And I know that from just teaching and being a professor.
Yes.
And it's the things that you don't know and you're vulnerable and you're authentic in speaking that and saying we can learn together. and even making it into some say, hey, let's all research that. Let's make this a teachable moment that we together can learn, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like that old adage that goes, the teacher becomes the student, becomes the teacher. It's
Yeah.
very interchangeable, right? And so when you have that openness to
Hmm.
it, then it breeds success because people are going to trust you. And so
Right.
when you are giving, right? Giving is a gift. And my mom made that really clear because she one day said, everybody will not receive what you have to give. And that's
Hmm.
not only just your talents, your gifts, but sometimes you may say, hey, I got a gift for you, Tomika. I want to give you a gift. And you may not be in a place of wanting to receive that gift for whatever
Hmm.
the reason. So when you're able to give your gift, that's a privilege, right?
It is.
People just feel like, oh, I can give. There's people with money that can't give it away.
Hmm.
There's people with money that just like, hey, I want to give, and it's like they can't give it away. And I know that sounds ridiculous,
Hmm.
but it's true. There are certain people that people just won't take from, and I've seen it, just personally, where someone can be in need and someone will come and for whatever the feelings or whatever, well, I'm not taking their money. Well,
Hmm.
I need this, but not from this person or not from that person.
Hmm.
So to be able to give and it to be received, that exchange in itself is a gift.
It
It's a
is.
gift. It's a gift. Helping women is definitely a heart chord for me as well. And like you said, Tamika, we've had lots of conversations about that. And one of the things that really resonates true for me about you is just your heart to give back authentically, just truly
Hmm.
without expectation, just to freely and unconditionally give of your resources, of your experiences,
Hmm.
of your gifts, right? And in seeing that, I just want to kind of just say, as women of color, that is a narrative that is continually a work in progress. I'll say it like that because there's been so much contention, so much strife, competition, and things that have just been inbred into us for generations. You grow up and you may hear in the house, well, you can't, don't be trusting no women because women will do this, and you got the light skin, dark skin,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got the haves, the have nots, you got all these different things. So when we, speaking you and I, phenomenal women, are able to rise up, but not just rise up and soar away, rise up and reach back, rise up and give back, rise up and connect, rise
Hmm.
up and empower, rise up and inspire.
Right.
That
Yeah.
in itself is the gift of giving better than anything else. And
Hmm.
better than anything else. As a nurse, anytime I hear somebody that says that they want to, become a nurse, I will give them resources. I will give them my number. I will say,
Yeah.
just talk to me. And there's things that I don't know, but then my students know. I'll connect them with my students. I'll connect them with, other colleagues, but just to help them on that journey. And I think that is one of the greatest gifts. And I think that is something that you are doing with this mentoring program that we discussed. So I wanted to kind of pivot there. That's where I was going with all of this.
Yeah. Yes, that's so true. And I love what you said about other women and especially Black women. I think sometimes we don't support, we don't encourage, we don't give because we are a little insecure with ourselves and we're worried that if I elevate you, then what about me? Where am I going to go? And my experience is that when you elevate other people, it does not dim your shine, right? It helps you to shine brighter. And so when you elevate another person and help them move into position, then you elevate yourself to a higher position, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't put out your shine or put out your light. to help another person. We should never be afraid of that, you know. And I've had that experience before where I actually made a post about it on LinkedIn where for 3 years in a row, I was passed over for promotion. And my boss was another Black woman. And I was achieving my goals, exceeding my goals, doing very well, but I did not get that promotion. And years later, I found out the reason why is because my boss was insecure with herself and her position, you know,
Mhm.
and that happens with us a lot. So this is something that I mentor about. You know, I'm currently a part of an organization here in Michigan called Winning Futures. I love this program. It is a curriculum-based mentorship program for high school students, boys and girls. And the program is 7 years. So the kids start in the 10th grade and they are mentored until they graduate from high school and then into their college years,
Mm.
which is so important. So the young ladies that I started mentoring in the 10th grade, you know, they have now graduated from high school. One of them has started working, and the other is now in college, and she's a freshman. And it just does my heart good to see her blooming and blossoming. And you know, teenage girls, when I first started and they were in the 10th grade, they barely talk. You know, we were coming through the pandemic, and so our meetings were on Zoom. They wouldn't turn
Mhm.
the cameras on. They had nothing to say. And then they started to just blossom, and we started having conversations about what do they want to do in life? You know, where do they want to work? What kind of house do they want to have? Really painting a picture and helping them to envision what they would like their lives to look like. Okay. And if you want your life to look like that, that's beautiful. How are you going to make it happen? So we started working through some goals and making plans, you know, and really digging into the finances, right? This is how much you
Mhm.
need to earn to have this kind of life. And so I love doing that and helping them to understand that, but then also mentoring them and coaching them on how to be givers as well.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, and one thing, this happened recently. I had a meeting with my college mentor. She's I said she's a freshman, and I usually ask her, you know, what are you doing that you're proud of right now? And she shared something with me about how she reached out to a new student who didn't have any friends because she was socially awkward and a little different. And so she saw her sitting alone all the time. And she said she went over and introduced herself and invited her to sit with her during lunch, and then also extended an invitation for her to join her on a couple of activities going on at the school. And she
Mhm.
said to me, and I just feel so proud of myself for doing that. And I said, I'm proud of you for doing that. And you should be proud of
Yes.
yourself. That's what giving is. It's not always about money. It's about your time, and it's
Mhm.
your heart. It's your love, your compassion, your empathy for another person, you know, and to, even if it's not your experience, but to have that empathy to say, man, this person must be really going through something. I can only imagine what it must be like to be sitting all alone and to have nobody to talk to in this big
Yes.
new place. And for her
Yes.
to be able to go over and extend that love to someone, to a stranger, it was just beautiful. And so I say all of that because that's a lot of the reason why I do what I do, to have those kind of moments, those
Yes.
opportunities to make an impact on the life of another in that way.
Yeah. And you are making an impact. I want you to say the name of the organization one more time.
Winning futures.
Winning Futures.
Mhm.
Okay, great. We're going to put the link to that narrative
Yes.
in the comments here to just bring more light to that. I'm going to say something. I'm going to bring Mr. Charles in to piggyback. And what I'm going to say is, you are so right, Tamika, when you say when we give our light to someone else, it doesn't dim our light. It
Mm-mm.
helps us to shine brighter. And you know that I always say we shine brighter together. We
Yes.
shine brighter together. And so even your light and your mentees, as they go forth, they're taking your light forward into their light to shine brighter. And then you already see the effect. It's
Mhm.
already shining. She's shining into someone else's life. And so it's like we're seeding love. So we're
Yeah.
kind of we're planting a seed of love, and that is so the best gift that we can give because that just spreads fast too. So we as women, it's important that we have support and we have support of our guys like you, Tamika, like me, right?
Hmm.
It helps us. So, Charles, as you see me give, what ways do you support, or what are you giving back to me to help me to give? How are you supporting me?
Well, I'm supporting you by when you're picking up different directions, and I'll support it. I'll ask you about it for you to substantiate what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you say, oh, okay, I'm doing this because I'll say, oh, okay, so I can better understand how I can better support you and
Yeah.
the direction that you're going in, from my understanding. And then you have such a giving heart, and we're talking about giving and hearing this from Tamika as well. You ladies are just phenomenal. You're just giving, giving, and giving, but it's good when you're giving back to 10th graders
Hmm.
and they're coming on through that, and you're giving it forward to individuals in college. Giving that support. That's what I do with Diane, with the
I
different
love it.
endeavors that she'll undertake. I'll ask her about it. Say, hey, I'm concerned. I'm into health and all of that. Don't
Yeah.
spread yourself too thin. I don't want to diminish what she's doing. If the wind is blowing real hard at her, I say, well, hey, you can't change the course of the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
Yes.
Make
Yes.
that adjustment and keep going forward. And then I'll back away and leave it alone, let her marinate on that. Then I'll come back. I better get out of the way for a minute. You know,
Yeah, I
I'll
love
say, hey, I'm not trying to change it. I'm just
it.
bringing some things. I'm observing on the outside. So as I'm hearing these different things about you, powerful ladies, women's, girls, they're out there and you guys are doing it. So I'll sit back in a supportive posture and I see the direction. The storm is there. Adjust your sails and keep moving forward.
I
Yeah,
love it. I
Charles,
love it.
Mika likes one of your sayings, the Karen is sharing. I
Oh, okay.
posted that
Oh,
and she
yes, I
was, and
love
I was
that.
like, Tamika, take that and run with it. So I think that's appropriate for what we're doing, that Karen is
Sharing is
sharing.
sharing.
And so you want to elaborate on how that came? The Karen is sharing,
Mm.
just your motto, how you say that to people. You always say at the end of
Well,
your post, like Karen is sharing.
yes. Some have asked me about that. Yeah, but what if you don't have anything else to give? I say you're giving your time.
Yes, there's always something.
There's always, and they fail to realize that. That's
Even
something.
your smile, something as
Yes.
simple as that. We don't think
Yes.
about that. And, Charles, I love what you said because a lot of times what keeps us stuck and blocks us from giving is that we think we have to give something extravagant or something that we can't afford. We think we have to give money that we don't have or something expensive that we can't afford to give. Just smiling at another person,
Mm-hmm.
talking to a lonely senior citizen who may have lost their spouse and they don't have anybody to talk to,
Yeah.
taking the time to listen to their stories. I love doing that because I'm an old soul. I love those old stories.
Yeah.
Opening the door for someone.
Yes.
It can be the smallest things that might be small to you or seem small to you, but can mean so much to another person.
Yes.
Yes.
We
Yes.
all have something. We all have something that we can give, and people are going through things right now that we really don't know anything about. So giving just the gift of kindness,
Mm-hmm.
being
Yeah.
good to people,
Yeah.
Yes.
showing
Just
love to people, a compliment. I see, especially other women, because
Yes.
you know how it is, that stigma about saying
Mm-hmm.
things to another person. But I'll say, girl, you killing it with that green dress on this morning. I love it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, that lady's standing tall and she's
Mhm.
smiling like, look at me. That's a gift that you can give to someone just to let them know, hey, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I see
Mm-hmm.
you. And I care about you.
And I care about you. That I see you is just, it's huge because so many
Mhm.
people, especially in this time, in this current time, just feel invisible. So many people feel like they're behind the mask, literally and figuratively,
Yes.
and no one sees them. So many people are suffering in silence, right? So just a postcard, just a regular card, just a phone call, just an email, just a shout out, just a love drop. That's how this whole podcast came about. And we do that to this day. We do love drops. Just send a cup of coffee in a card and say, here's a love drop. So it's more than just a catchy name. It is actually a platform that we live by, we stand on, and that represents the essence of who we are, right? Charles is my biggest fan and supporter. And it's so important because I truly feel that the way that I pour into others, then when I feel like I'm going to faint, I feel like I'm okay to faint because I know that he got me and I'm not going to fall. I know that he got me, and I know that when necessary, he will put himself between me and just whatever I need to be blocked off just to get that self-care. And that is so important.
Yes. And he's reminding you that you have to pour into yourself. And we need that encouragement and that support too. We have to remember to make ourselves a top priority in our own lives as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I know as a person who was a caregiver, for my parents, people often forget the caregiver, but remembering that I need care too. So
Exactly.
I have to remind myself, and it doesn't take a whole lot. People think self-care is luxury, going to a spa and having a massage. That's self-care too, but it's also stepping outside to breathe in some fresh air for 5 minutes. It's also sitting to meditate and pray for 10 or 15 minutes, or like we do, Diane, taking our virtual walks together in the park.
Yes.
That fills the cup because you're getting some exercise in, but you're also feeding your soul with some good conversation from a good friend. So there's a lot of ways that we can pour into ourselves, but we need to be more intentional about doing that.
Exactly. That's when I step in from time to time with Diane because she gives 24/7.
Yes.
And I'll step in sometime. I might get my knuckles bit a little bit, and then she'll think about it. She'll say, "Thank you, I needed that." I say, "Yeah, okay," and then we'll keep it going. But she knows this with love. She'll accept that, and she'll say, "Yeah." And later she'll tell me, "Thanks for pulling me out of that," because it was
that's what it's all
constantly
about.
giving. Yeah. We'll even give. Oh, Diane said something about love drops. I call my oldest student from time to time, and I talk with him in less than a minute. He's 101 years of age. So, yes, he's 101.
Yes.
He lives in Georgia. So I'll call him. His name is Arthur. And I'll say, "Arthur, how's it going?" "It's going great. Glad you called." I say, "Okay, Arthur, I'll talk with you again." "All right, talk to you later." That's Arthur. That's Arthur.
But just that, it's
just that love drop
moment, that love drop. I'm thinking of you today. And that's a beautiful way to give and to be intentional about it too. One of the things I told myself that I was going to start doing, I challenged myself a couple of years ago, is that when God drops a name in my spirit of an old friend or an old colleague, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and shoot them a text, send them an email, or make a quick phone call. And so that's something that I do from time to time. It'll just come into my spirit. I don't have another way of saying it. A friend, I may not have talked to that person in years. That's on my mind. I need to call right now. They need to hear from me. I'm going to call, or I'm going to send a text, let them know, "Hey, I'm just thinking about you this morning." Those are little things that we can do, little love drops, as you say. I love that. And it goes so far, it makes a big difference. We may not realize it, but it really makes an impact.
And when you make that call, how many times have you gotten the response, "Oh my God, how did you know?" Like it's like right in the middle of something. And that something could be really good or it could be not so good. It goes from one end, but it's always the perfect time. Like when it's like, oh my, and sometimes they'll even say, "I've been thinking about you too. I've been meaning to call you as well." So it's just making those touches, right? Just making those touches. I had a friend, she's in New Zealand, and she mailed me a card. We email and we do the virtual thing, but she was like, I want my hands to touch something that will then touch your hand. So it's just like, so
Beautiful.
she wrote the card out. She mailed the card, and it's pretty expensive. It's almost the price of a book to mail a card, but exaggerating a little bit, but it is.
No,
Um,
you're about right.
to mail just a standard card and
Hmm.
just to take the time. And it's my love language because that's what I do. I send cards. And I
Hmm.
think this is a good place to pivot because your gifts, when you give your gifts, you have to give them unconditionally and without expectation. And you
Without
have to let
expectation.
the receiver know. So I'll send cards and cards, and people will be like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry? It brings me joy to just reach out. This is just
Yeah.
my way of giving you a hug or just giving you a touch. You do it your way. You don't have to
Right.
reciprocate. And I think that's an important factor, as we're just circling down and giving, is just know that when you give, that it will be given back, but sometimes not from the same place.
Hmm.
So, Tamika, if I give you $1 million today and you win or come upon $1 trillion next week,
Hmm.
and you just pass it out to everyone, and maybe you don't give me not even $1, but that's
Hmm.
okay because you are following, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if I get mad at you for not, then what I have to do is I have to look at my motivation
Hmm.
behind why I gave to
Right.
you. Was it a gift or an investment?
Oh, that's
And be
good.
it clear,
Hmm.
be clear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Giving without expectation, I think, is just so important. And at the end of the day, like you said, when you give, you're going to receive so more than you gave away anyway.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Giving is
So
receiving.
you don't have to worry about it. It's not about I gave to you, you give to me. It's not a tit for tat kind of thing.
No,
It should come from the heart. You're doing what you're supposed to do by being a generous giver, and you're going to receive in ways that you could not even imagine.
not even. Not
Hmm.
even. You just you give forward, you give
Hmm.
forward, you give forward. So this is a good place as we're circling. What is a highlight? What is something, since you have just taken that leap into your own business, since you have defined the rules and narrative of your journey,
Hmm.
right? What is something that has just really made your soul leap and you're like, yes, I knew it.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. But without going into too much detail and certainly not giving names, but every client that I work with is special. But I came across a client who had been following me on social media, and my social media of choice is LinkedIn. So that's where I predominantly hang out. And this person had been following me, never commented on a post, never engaged with me or anything. And Diane, as you know, on Sundays, I like to share a prayer.
Yes.
Sundays, that's my post. I like to share a prayer. And I don't preach at people or anything like
No.
that. And so this person had been reading my Sunday prayers and she reached out in my DMs, my direct messages on LinkedIn. And she told me that God told her that I was her coach and she
Wow.
wanted to meet with me. And then she had been following me for almost 2 years without saying anything. And so I met with her. I had a Zoom call, sort of a discovery call to find out what she was looking for. And in that Zoom call, it turned out not to be a discovery call. What she needed in that moment was a prayer and sort of a virtual hug. Okay. She was struggling with something. And so I said, can I pray for you right now? And she said, yes. And we just began to pray.
Mhm.
Okay. And so there was no discovery call that day. And then she contacted me again and wanted to hire me. She
Wow.
said she knew that I was the person she was meant to work with. I've been working with her for 2 years now. that is a highlight for me because you don't know how your words and your actions impact other people. But what I know for sure is that when I exude kindness and love and positivity and gratitude, all the things that I put out into the world, whether it's online, in person, or whatever, I know that it's making a difference somewhere. And if I touch even one person, then
Yes.
I'm doing what I've been called to do. That's a highlight for me. Especially some people I'll never know that I've impacted their life.
Right.
But for the ones, and that's just one example, but for the ones who just have the courage to reach out and say, look, I don't know why, but I'm drawn to you. And that happens
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And I think it's the positivity, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a loving and kind spirit towards
Yeah.
everyone because, I have to agree with you on
Mm-hmm.
everything,
That's right.
but my heart's desire is just to love other people, whether
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you or not. We don't have to stand in agreement because some things I don't understand and I may never understand it. And that's okay. I can love you anyway.
That's
Your
right.
lifestyle don't have to be exactly like mine. I can love you anyway. We don't
Yes.
have to agree with everything that's going on around us. I can love you anyway. And
I,
that for me is what it's all about. It's just giving that love, unconditional love, without expectation of anything.
wow, man, that,
Wow.
when we started out, there was something that I said, and I said, I want the conversation to organically flow to a
Mhm.
place where we can say that at this time in this season, whatever choices that we're making, there's so many choices that people are making right here and right now, right? To
Yes,
choose love. And
yes.
and 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 we got there. We got there just, just with that, we got there is to choose love. And that is what we do. We choose love each and every day. And each and every day, several times a day even, we
Mhm.
choose love. We
Yes.
choose love. And the story you just gave is just another example of how that old saying goes, your gifts will make room for you.
Hmm.
So the fact that you do shine, with your Sunday prayers, and maybe some people call it meditations, whatever you want to call
Whatever
it,
you call it.
inspiration, whatever it is to you, but they touch and they land,
Mhm.
and it allowed your gift to make that room for you in the life of this young lady, that you're coaching, been coaching for 2 years. And it also shows that someone's always looking, whether they speak on it, whether they say anything to you, or make a comment, or anything. Someone is always watching you, especially when you think that no one sees you. Someone's
Hmm.
always watching you.
So
So
true.
it's yeah, so it's just like Charles.
Oh, when we're talking about prayer, when you're
Yeah.
saying you give out a prayer, someone asked me about that a while ago. I was telling him from my perspective, when you pray, you're giving. When you
Hmm.
sit and relax and meditate, you're receiving.
Yeah.
So prayer it out, meditate, and it'll come back with you.
I love that. Absolutely.
And so we've
I,
been spotlighting women, and I cannot allow us to conclude with just spotlighting my Charles. He sat here with us, and he chimed in, but he sat here with us,
yeah.
in this conversation, supporting. And Charles's gift is his health as well. So Charles's gift is his Tai Chi, and it has made
Ooh.
so much difference in this world. Charles, it's so much difference in this world. His gift has opened up a room for him to serve others. So with that, Charles, your gift of giving health is wealth. What would you like to share with us as we conclude this conversation?
Well, I'll do it very briefly. Health is wealth.
Yeah.
Health is wealth. So as you continue to take care of yourself, share it with others, you're helping them to
Hmm.
help them as well. And that's what I do. I share it. I share it. And I'll just give one brief one. I went into a Weight Watchers
A
meeting.
meeting. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had never been in there. And they asked me what was I doing in there because I looked fit and all of that. I said, well, I always wanted to attend to see what you guys do. So they explained it to me and I went and I told them thank you and all, and I was ready to leave. They say, no, stay. We have a lot of questions we want to ask you later. How do
Oh.
you, yeah, how do you stay so fit? And what do you
Mhm.
do? I was in there another hour and a half. I gave a complete workshop on holistic health, mind,
Mhm.
body, spirit, and emotions. We talked
Mm.
about Tai Chi, Qigong, hypnosis, acupressure, on and on and on. I loved it. I loved it. But that was mine. And that
That's
was my
great.
form to give.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
Just walking into a Weight Watchers meeting. Look at that.
Walk
Right,
into it.
right,
Yes.
right. So yes,
Amazing.
yeah, give. But when you have a heart to give,
Yes.
when you want to share your gifts,
Mhm.
then again, your gifts will make room for you.
Yeah.
So, Charles, we were talking about women and giving and gifts. So stress with
Stress.
women, stress is a big thing. So you have that relax exercise. If
Yes.
you could maybe share that with us
Oh, now
real
that
quick.
was a very good breathing exercise, and it's
Mhm.
entitled Relax. And the
Mm.
way you do that exercise, as you inhale deeply through your nose, you mentally say re on the inhalation, lax on the exhalation.
Mhm.
Re on the inhalation, lax on the exhalation. And that has helped reduce stress throughout your entire body.
Mm.
You can take it with you anywhere. Relax.
Absolutely. Relax. I'm going to keep that one because I do believe in the healing power of breath work. I
Yes.
really do. I know how important that is. I went through an issue. This was a few years back. I didn't even know I was stressed and overwhelmed, and I had benign vertigo for a couple years, and all of a sudden, I would be walking and my legs would turn to rubber, and I would just fall.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
it was my body letting me know that I needed to slow down. This is when I first started taking care of my parents, and I was helping my husband take care of his parents because they had health problems. And so we were dealing with it from both sides. Plus, we had we have marriage, we have a house, we got two kids, and I have a job, and he was working, and it was just a lot. And so I went through that, and I landed in the emergency room that year more than 10 times, which is more than
Wow.
I've ever been to the hospital in my entire life.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
but that's how serious it was. They didn't know what was wrong. They ran all kinds of tests on me. And finally, an emergency room doctor said, I ran every test. You are perfectly healthy. And he said, you're going to have to deal with this with your mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yes.
have to use self-talk
Wow.
when you feel those feelings, like you're going to pass out of those feelings of anxiety,
Mhm.
because your brain, when your limbs aren't working right, your brain
Right.
is trying to figure out what's going on. I would sweat profusely from my scalp, just water would pour down. And
Mm.
sometimes I would go completely numb. Literally, I would want to stand and I couldn't. I would just,
Wow.
my body would just be completely limp. And this doctor taught me how to use breathing techniques and self-talk to talk
Yes.
Mhm.
myself out
Yes.
of it before it came down on me.
Exactly.
So telling myself, you're okay, you're
Mm-hmm.
okay. And I would just tell
Mm-hmm.
myself, yeah, you're fine, you're okay, you're okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I would breathe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
deeply in and out, and it would just subside. And
Wow.
that got better. But you're right, stress is real.
Stress
Burnout,
is
Yes, it
real.
is.
overwhelm, yes.
It's
Yeah.
real. And that's caregiver stress that you're kind of describing,
Hmm.
because when we take care of others, right,
Mhm.
a lot of times we do it at the expense of our self-care, just
Hmm.
us. And then it's just like in a time where you're taking care of your parents, there's no telling of all the different things going through your mind
Hmm.
at that time, right?
Right.
And I'm so thankful that you brought that up, Tomika, because that's a really important thing to bring up as far as when you're giving your gifts. we can say self-care till we're blue in the face, but
Mhm.
that example that you just gave, that right there speaks volumes. If you take care of your
Mhm.
body will take care of you. If you
That's
do not take care of your body will get your attention to
yes,
let you know that you need to do better. And
yes.
it's warnings, it's warnings, it's warnings until you're flat on your back or you're down, right?
I was
So
down. That's yes,
yeah,
We used to think that it was selfish to take care of yourself first. That's
right.
selfish thinking. And then later the airlines would tell the folks, in case of an emergency, put on your
Yep.
mask
That's right.
first. So
Before.
then but look how long it took for folks to
Mhm.
get to that. That's not
Mhm.
being selfish. You can take
No.
care of you have to take care of yourself first, then you can take care of others.
Right, because you can't pour into others when your own cup is empty, you know.
that's right.
Exactly.
You're right. And you
Right.
have to be intentional about it. Like I said earlier, now I make sure I love to be outside. I make sure I get outside every single day. I don't care if it's to stand out there and breathe for 5 minutes and let the sun kiss my face, whatever. But I get outside every single day. That's a part of my self-care.
And that's
Great.
beautiful. And that's beautiful. So, as we just wrap this up in a tiny little box and a bow on top, we're going to give it to Charles for his favorite question.
Yes, and that favorite question is, what is the best way for our listening audience to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So the best way to get in touch with me is through my website. It's tomikasnodgrass.com. And also, as I said earlier, I do hang out on LinkedIn. So if any of you are on LinkedIn, you can find me there as well. Also on Facebook. So I hang out on LinkedIn predominantly, also on Facebook. And you can also always reach me on my website at tomikasnodgrass.com.
Awesome. And so, my favorite question is, what words of inspiration would you like to leave with our listeners?
My words of inspiration are always about love and positivity. And so just do something to help another person by simply being kind, offer a smile, open a door, buy them a cup of coffee, pay them a compliment. The tiniest little things make the biggest impact in ways that you cannot imagine. So those are my words of encouragement. We all can do something to uplift another.
Yes.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was a lot of love drops.
Love drops. I
Yes.
love that. I'm gonna be
Yes.
love dropping all over the place.
That's right. That's how we get the word out, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Love
Love
drops.
it.
Love drops. Tamika, we thank you for your time. We thank you
Yes.
for your gift of time with us today. It is non-refundable, but it is very much appreciated. And we love you. And we thank
And I
you for
love you right back.
here. And as we say always in closing, stay
Stay
tuned
tuned.
to Love Drop Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share the love, spread the love drops to all you know. And until next time,
One
one love.
love.
To know, never a second will I waste, never an opportunity to taste the sweetness of this life.
Thank you for tuning in to the Love Drops podcast.
Follow the challenges
Be sure to
of
follow this
life.
podcast and share the love with everyone you know.
Love it
Until
comes
next
so.
time, this is Charles and Diane
Love never,
signing off.
love never,
One love.
love it conquers all, whether big or small. Love never fails. Oh, love never, love it conquers all. Love never